Once upon a moonlit night in a quiet mountain town known as South Park, a mysterious stranger arrived. He was a tall, pale man who wore a long, flowing cape and had a thick Eastern European accent. He had come to establish a life and a home away from his ancestral place of Transylvania. The mysterious man entered the South Park Inn, which was well lit, with a pleasant hum of townsfolk chattering away. He approached the innkeeper and requested a room for himself. "You know," said the innkeeper, "we don't get many foreigners around here. What brings you to South Park?" I'm just seeking a change of scenery." "My name is Vladimir Dracula," he replied with a sly smile. Meanwhile, in the corner booth of the inn, a round, foul-mouthed boy named Eric Cartman was finishing his dinner of cheesy poofs and chicken tenders. Unbeknownst to everyone but Eric, he had recently gotten his hands on a centuries-old book of spells and curses which he'd found in the town library, hidden among the graphic novels. Life had been far too boring, and Eric had been seeking some excitement. "Hey, Fatas, what do you think you're doing with that book?" piped up Stan, Eric's so-called friend. "None of your business, hippie," Eric snapped. "I'm about to have the time of my life while you losers sit around and do nothing." With a wicked grin, Eric found a spell he liked and began to recite the words. Suddenly, the room started to spin, and a gust of wind blew out the candles, plunging the inn into darkness. As Vladimir Dracula made his way to his room, he felt a surge of power that he hadn't felt in centuries. Unbeknownst to Eric, his spell had awakened the true nature of their foreign guest, Dracula. The following morning, the townsfolk of South Park woke up to an unsettling sight. The usually bright and colorful streets were now covered in shadows, and there was a tense, eerie atmosphere. People whispered to their neighbors, sharing stories of strange dreams and an overwhelming feeling of being watched. Eric was ecstatic. "You guys, this is awesome!" he cheered, holding the ancient book of spells close to his chest. "I can't wait to see what else I can do with this thing." As the kids walked to school, they noticed a crowd gathered outside the town hall. Mayor McDaniels was addressing the town, looking more anxious than ever. "Attention, townsfolk," she began, her voice wavering slightly. "I regret to inform you that last night, one of our own dear chef was attacked in his home. He was found unconscious this morning with 2 puncture wounds on his neck. It appears we have, a vampire in South Park." The crowd gasped, but then they all started talking at once, sharing wild theories and accusations. Eric couldn't help but overhear a hushed conversation between his friends Stan and Kyle, discussing the arrival of the mysterious Vladimir Dracula. "Wait," said Eric, interrupting them. "You mean that weird dude we saw at the inn last night? Are you guys saying he's Dracula?" "No," Kyle replied, rolling his eyes. "We're just saying the timing is suspicious, and, he is from Transylvania." Feeling a sudden pang of guilt, as well as a desire to prove his friends wrong, Eric decided he would take matters into his own hands. Later that night, Eric sneaked out of his house and made his way to the South Park Inn, determined to confront Dracula. He kicked open the door to room number 13, where he found the tall, pale man with the thick accent, sitting on the edge of the bed, holding a glass of red liquid. "Ah, young one," Dracula said, his lips curling into a sinister smile. "I've been expecting you." "Cut the crap, dude," Eric demanded, brandishing his book of spells. "I know what you are, and I know why you're here. You're going to leave South Park, or else—" "Or else what, my boy?" Dracula asked, his voice dripping with amusement as he slowly stood up. I'll destroy you," Eric stuttered, flipping through the pages of the book. "I'll find a spell that will turn you to dust." "You are brave, young one," Dracula mused, "but you know not the power you toy with. Perhaps we can make a deal." Eric eyed him warily. "What kind of deal?" "Teach me the secrets within that book," Dracula suggested, "and, in exchange, I shall grant you the powers of the undead, and South Park shall remain unharmed." An evil grin spread across Eric's face, and he extended his hand for a shake. "You've got yourself a deal, Dracula." And so, as the moon continued to cast its eerie glow over the town of South Park, An unlikely alliance was formed between a vampire and a mischievous young boy. The pair indulged in their newfound powers and knowledge, casting spells and causing chaos whenever they pleased, much to the confusion and dismay of the townsfolk. But, as with all tales of mischief and darkness, their reign of terror could not last forever. As the sun began to rise one morning, Eric and Dracula found themselves cornered by an angry mob of townsfolk, led by none other than Stan, Kyle, Kenny, and a newly recovered chef. "You've brought this on yourself, Cartman," Kyle shouted, holding up a wooden stake. In that moment, Eric knew it was over. He glanced over at Dracula, who simply nodded and whispered, "It was fun while it lasted, young one." And with that, the combined forces of South Park's heroes and a very reluctant Eric Cartman managed to bring an end to Dracula's reign of terror. South Park was safe once more, and the sun shone brightly on the little mountain town. As for Eric, he learned a valuable lesson about power and responsibility. Unfortunately, he would likely never apply it to his life, but that is a story for another day.